And welcome back, everyone, to, I was about to say who would win, to Box Office Report today on the 28th of June, 2016. And wow, we're going to have some stuff to talk about. But first, the good news. Toy Story 5, not surprisingly, we all kind of predicted it. Toy Story 5 made it to number one again with roughly $70 million, dropping only about 56.2%. Supergirl debuts at $38 million. Obsession made our $9.8 million. Jackass Best and Last made $8.4 million, and Disclosure Day dropped 54.2% for $8.1 million. Okay, so we always start from the beginning, and again, should note it's another $100 million plus weekend at the box office. Good stuff. So, Toy Story 5 made our $70 million, dropped a little over 50%, which I'm really not that surprised about. Between a new superhero film coming out, whether how good or bad it is, and event repeat business for what it may be. I'm not surprised it dropped over 50%. But the fact is, it had a pretty solid drop. Like 50 to 55 is where you really want to see your second weekend drop. Anything around 60 is a little on the high side, but not bad. And anything above like 60, 61, I'd say. 60 is like right on the cusp, but anything above 60 is not great. Unless you're super front heavy on your opening weekend, like an Avengers film or something. So the fact that it dropped 56 points, 2%? No reason to be concerned. As it stands, it's almost at $600,000 in just the second week. It's, I think, right now the highest grossing film of the year right now is Super Mario Galaxy movie, at just over $1 billion. Now, if I got the trajectory, let me see what the week-to-week trajectory for that was like. Because I can tell you right now, Toy Story 5 is by far the better movie. All right, hold on. Original release, domestic. Okay, and see, weekend to weekend. What did it do its second weekend? Okay, so it actually had a better second weekend drop than Toy Story did. Now, it did open to far less. I guess I was trying to add an extra word there. It opened to far less than Toy Story did. And let's be very clear, too, that 148, that's only for the Easter weekend. That was a holiday weekend. We can't count that, really. So the fact is, it opened on less by over 20 million, but it dropped less, too. To be fair, though, by the time we got to domestic weekly, no, it's literally the week-to-week days. I don't need the week-to-week days. We had like the domestic total on the second weekend, $307 million. So where do we stand right now on domestic weekend for Toy Story? $297 million. So it is trailing a little bit behind. But again, you had that extra day worth of Easter weekend. So if you didn't have that frankly might have might have been a little bit of a bigger factor. In fact, honestly, there's not that much difference between the two. Overall, there's about a $10 million difference. And to be fair, there's also the fact that Mario didn't have anything to go up against that was really going to hurt it, right? There was literally nothing until we got to Toy Story, really, in the grand scheme of things. That hurt this thing's trajectory. It was going to hurt its overall box office. Up until its 12th week, it never dropped over 48%. It never dropped over 48%. Now, you might hear those words and think, "Oh God, oh no, this is not good." But let's hold for just a second here. Let's try all territories real quick here. Do we have the week? Unfortunately, it doesn't give me the week-to-week numbers overall because its legs at the box office kind of started to wane fairly quick, if we're going to be honest. It still got to $1 billion, but it crawled over that $1 billion line. It by tooth and nail did it. So the fact that this is already at almost $600,000 is actually probably, I'm really thinking on where I can remember Mario being. This might be better trajectory overall, but to be fair too, this just has far better reviews. I think it's going to have the better legs, in spite of the fact that Minions is going to open up this week. In fact, now that I say that out loud, that might actually not be true. That might be the exact opposite of what's going to happen. It may not have any legs, to be frank. But overall, look, we're nowhere near in oh no, gotta worry territory for this movie. This movie's doing just fine. It will do just fine. I think though it does have a pretty high budget of about $250, which is insane when you think about it. But again, you keep having original voice actors come back, so you have to, contracts get re-upped, you get paid more. What are you gonna do? So I guess the question is, how much does this movie actually have to make to break even? Because I'd imagine the movie had about $100 million in marketing, roughly. So you would be looking at a film, roughly, that's it, $525 to break even. So the film did that, which is good, fantastic. The film's profitable already. We don't have to worry about it not being profitable. And Disney, apart from Hoppers, Devil's Prada and Hoppers both did fairly well. I mean, Hoppers did cross over the break-even point. Devil's Prada made a lot of money. But then Mandalorian came in. Well, it wasn't a huge bomb. It did lose money. It lost a decent amount of money, unfortunately. It's the lowest grossing Star Wars film in history. And in fact, why don't we just address that real quick? Where are you down here, Mandalorian? Mandalorian Grogu, last I checked, is $325. Need another 70 or 50 million just to maybe break even. And that would have been generous. Man, they bet on the wrong show horse on that one. But speaking of betting the wrong show horse, Supergirl debuted with 38 million, 68 million worldwide. Now, evidently, we were not including this with the box office, but the fact is, it has actually made like $100 million in promotions. So whatever the final result is, it's not going to be its box office result, per se. The box office result will be the box office result. It will be the result of how many people actually went to go see the movie in the theaters. That said, you can add the $100 into whatever money it technically made overall in the grand scheme of things. But unfortunately, in terms of popularity, we can't judge it by that $100 million plus promotions deal it got. $38 million. It was apparent. Now, if I recall, it was tracking, I believe it was less than Black Adam, but more than Flash, or vice versa. And Black Adam, I think, opened on like 60 some odd million, but Flash opened, which actually that makes no sense. Wait, how was it tracking less than Flash, more than Black Adam, when I think Black Adam opened on more? Unless I'm remembering wrong, which I don't think I am. So it literally was tracking allegedly somewhere in that range, which was in the high 40s, low 50s to 60s range. Not amazing, but could have been a far worse, especially for someone coming off of their only movie being that 80s Supergirl, which is, as much as some people might not like this movie, this is leaps and bounds better than that one. But 38 million on a when you average out, it's about $178 million budget with admittedly about 70 million in marketing. So grand total 248, which means the film roughly has to hit about 370 to break even. Unless the international does something amazing, this is another He-Man scenario. Now, granted, I think it will make more money than He-Man, very much so, but, oh man, is this not good. So, what went wrong here? And I think we looked at a couple things. One, and this is me having to understand that while I like the movie, I enjoyed the movie, recognizing faults with the movie, not as many people as I had hoped for did. I think the critic score stands at about 56 or 58, and the audience score stands at a fine 77. But the problem is, if your audience score is anything less than maybe like an 80, that actually is going to hurt your bottom dollar in the long run, because obviously the audience is who ultimately votes with how good a film is. Well, not really how votes how good a film is, but are the ones who determine how well a film is going to do, because they're the ones voting with their dollar bill. And even though, again, I liked it, I have to acknowledge it didn't get the best reviews. Not everyone liked the movie. I've seen many people who I enjoy their opinions on say that they did not like the movie and don't think the movie's very good. And not only do those people not think it, but they're now spreading the word that they don't think it's good, and therefore people are going to assume it's not good and probably not be more hesitant to see it. If they have HBO Max, they'll just wait for it to come out on HBO Max. So that's problem A. Problem B. While Superman, make no mistake, Superman was a success. Anyone who's telling you different just has an agenda of their own. But the problem here is I don't think Supergirl was the right character to follow up Superman with. And again, derivative character, not as popular. The only movie we ever knew her from was that terrible one in the 80s. And people are just going to assume she's just a Superman knockoff, or she's just Supergirl Superman, and not as interesting. And while Billy Alcock is certainly great in the movie, she is good in the movie. Same with Jason Momoa. Honestly, most of the acting is frankly fine and good to fine. I don't think people care as much about Supergirl. And that leads into a third problem. The marketing actually really wasn't. I like the trailers, all things considered, but the marketing really wasn't that good. Like, we got a trailer, we got some better trailers later on, but it's the same old adage of you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. Pretty much the case here. So, I mean, you get a lackluster marketing campaign, you get a movie that's not getting great reviews, you get a character that I don't think a lot of people are interested in. And even beyond that, superheroes are just not anywhere at the height of popularity anymore. I mean, technically speaking, they are still the most popular of the movie-going franchises if you were to really space them out, like do like the money and percentages. I mean, if you really add it all up from last year, 3 superhero movies together made over $1 billion, which is more than if you were to combine most other genres together of last year. You know, in fact, hold on. Let's actually just look at last year, and just look at it from this perspective real quick. Worldwide, let's go to last year, and what do we have? Let's just look at the top 10 movies of last year. Okay, well, maybe not top 10 because that's not illustrating my point very much. But again, you got Superman made over 600 million, 618 million. You had the Thunderbolts, didn't do as well, anywhere near as well as it should have, but $382 million. It's actually right there is your $1 billion. And then Captain America Brave New World, $415. So $1.4 billion. Oh, wait, sorry, got to include Fantastic Four in that. So about almost $2 billion between, I believe it's 4 superhero films. Now let's look at any other genre real quick. The animated spectrum is a little bit of a wild card one. Like Zootopia 2 alone made almost the same amount. But that's the thing. That's a rare anomaly of a film. So let's actually look at some other genres real quick if we can. Let's try just action real quick. Can I find any action films? Hell, let's even do like horror, like Sinners, Weapons. Well, those 2 alone made over almost $600 million. Conjuring Last Rites brings that up to $1 billion. Then that's about it. So horror doesn't hit as high as superhero movies do. Oh, and they got to factor in Bloodlines, which isn't really a horror. It's horror-esque, but it's more fun, thriller, people dying, which still doesn't get it close enough. Let's see here. Then we got, is there any action films I can go with? Honestly, not really. What about fantasy remix? I mean, we got Lilo and Stitch. We got How to Train Your Dragon. Those guys alone made 1.6. So you're definitely now in the contender there. But really, yeah, there's just no overall genre that can still make if you factor every company making movies, that can make the amount of money the superhero movies do. Now, have they lost a step? Yep. And I think this shows it. Now, granted, there is not a superhero movie fatigue. That needs to be very, very, very clear. If you yourself are fatigued with superhero movies, that is your fatigue of superhero movies. Let us be clear. But the general audience, it's not a superhero fatigue. Deadpool and Wolverine proved that. 600 plus million proves that for freaking Superman. It's not an actual thing. It's the fact that the quality dipped. Bad comic movie fatigue. That's why the DCEU ultimately failed. The quality of the movies just wasn't there for most of the time. And then when we started to actually get good movies again, they just couldn't recover. Plus, we had a pandemic and all that. But yeah, there's no comic book movie fatigue. There is lackluster, boring, bad comic book movie fatigue. And if you do that a couple times in a row, people are going to stop coming. Again, the original DCEU. It ended with a whimper. The highest grossing one since the original Aquaman was Aquaman 2. A very subpar movie, which barely able to gross over $400 million. So, I mean, you get the fact that the comic book movies aren't quite what they used to be. Derivative character that not a lot of people either know or really just are interested in seeing. Lackluster reviews, and not a good marketing campaign. I don't think this was the right move to go with. Now, I'm not saying we had to go immediately into a Batman or a Wonder Woman, but a different character? I mean, people loved Mr. Terrific. You could have gone Mr. Terrific. You could have made a Mr. Terrific movie, or the Justice Gang, or whatever. You could have maybe done something with that. I think the Mr. Terrific character could have actually worked. But again, she's got super in the name. It just sucks. It really sucks. I enjoyed it. I was assuming when I saw the 18 on Friday that it was going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of, low 40s, mid 50s, right? But it didn't just go down. It dropped from like 8. In fact, we have the days here. 18 to 10 to 9. Woof. That's not good. That's not good. Because you might expect Saturday to actually be the higher day, right? That's usually the case. Saturday's actually usually higher than Friday. Or at the very minimum, it's not quite that low. Like, I would have expecting 17 and maybe 12 on the Sunday, which, again, doing my math real quick, would have put it around 49. Still would have been low, but it would have been a lot better than what we just did. We'll have to wait and see. Is this the end of the DCU with James Gunn? Of course not. One bump in the road doesn't derail anything. It doesn't. Now, if you got multiple bumps in a row, that could just end everything. But we'll have to see how Clayface handles when it comes out, because it could very well be a very different film. Well, it's going to be a very different film, but it could very well kind of change the conversation on things, couldn't it? Anyway, Toy Story 5 Supergirl Obsession still kicking around, 9.8 million. It's on the cusp of hitting $400 million. That is literally insane. It's made 233.934 domestically alone. That's a number that if it just ended on that number, it would have been wildly successful. If it had just ended on its international number, it would have been insanely successful. 370 million, approaching the $400 million club. That's insane. That does, I think, still put it as one of the most profitable films of all time, percentage-wise. Now, I believe that record still right now is held by the Blair Witch Project, because that thing was made on literal pocket change, like 50, 60 some odd grand, not million, grand. So this film would have to actually literally hit $1 billion, I think, to one up the percentage on that. But we're still looking at one of the most widely profitable films of all time. You take the third the studio gets for their, or the theater gets for their cut out, rough third. It varies from theater to theater, but the average is a third. And I mean, you're looking at, let's say, 1, then 2, 1, 9, or 3. I'm sorry, and 3. So you're looking at what, 47, 247 against probably a grand total like 6 million in, budget when you factor marketing. Because they did the very smart thing with like Terrifier did with the online marketing. Same with Backrooms. You're looking at a film that, I mean, made $240 some odd million in profit. Like, and that's insane. That really is insane. And we might as well, let's just get the Backrooms real quick. It's in the same boat. Another film that is currently crossed $330 million. Like, how and why? I mean, again, these are speaking to very much, I think, the Gen Z audience is very big on these films. I think Gen Z is very big on horror right now. Also, Backrooms was a thing we watched during the pandemic, and I think, people heard about that. It's like, oh, cool, let's go see that. And it's actually a pretty solid movie. It's actually pretty decent. I'd say it's a good movie, quite frankly. So I think that all plays a factor in it, no doubt. No doubt. But now I gotta be a little downer again. Disclosure Day hasn't even crossed 200 million yet. And now and because it has not crossed 200 million yet, I will now be calling it. It is not making its money back. Not the best. Someone did remind me that Ready Player One was Spielberg's last really profitable film. It did really. I own Ready Player One over there. I like Ready Player One. It's not exactly the same as the book, but I didn't read the book, so I don't care. But yeah, it's, again, I think I've gone over why I don't think this quite landed. It's definitely got a lot of good things going on. All the performances are great. Honestly, particularly from Emily Blunt, from Colin Firth, from was it not Jack O'Connell? That's Sinner's guy. Let's see, title summary. I think I want that, and I want cast and crew. Is it Jack O'Connell? Josh O'Connor. There we go, Josh O'Connor. Like they're all great. They're all fantastic. I like the fact it opens up like kind of like in the middle of the story where the guy's already going rogue, not learning what happened. And I like a lot of the stuff throughout the chunk of the movie. And I really actually like the end, save for the cutoff at the end. If you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I think it's just not well paced. It's being a little too. It thinks it's more whimsical than it is, and it thinks it's funnier than it is. Like running over the phone scene. Again, anyone seen the movie knows exactly what I'm talking about. Once that joke works, but the fact that he did that for like a whole minute, I think hurts the runtime of this movie and hurts the pacing a bit. So yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. So let's see here. What else we got? We did that. Scary movie. You want to talk about a film that kind of came and went like a fart in the wind. It's only in its fourth week, and it's pretty done its run. It opened to the highest of the franchise. It's not going to be the highest grossing of the franchise. It dropped 73.9%, then 55, then 53. Yeah, no, this was a flash in the pan novelty that luckily hit. It luckily did make all of its money back pretty much in the opening week. And now it's all profit, which Paramount needs any little bit of chump change they can get, if we're being honest. But yeah, unfortunately, the lack of quality of the movie means that it wasn't going to ultimately do well. And again, I haven't seen a scary movie in a while, so maybe I own two of them. I own the original and the second one over there. And I like them. I like both of those. I think that type of comedy really works in the early 2000s, late 90s. I just don't know how funny and I can still watch those and laugh, thinking about, and maybe it's because whether it's racist, sexist, not politically correct or not, it's fine by me. Like, I'm not someone who, let me put it this way, when it comes to comedy, I'm someone who can say, okay, that's fine. You know, you're just telling a joke. Everyone should has the right to laugh and be laughed at within reason. There are certain jokes you don't make. But like in my comment section, if someone's being a complete another like insensitive prick, you know, using language I don't want, they're just gone. Like, I'm not going to tolerate that in the real world. But for entertainment purposes, it's a different story. But maybe it's just the fact that I don't know. Maybe as we get older, these things just become less funny. Things don't age well anymore. Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War arc, The Calamity. You'll be getting a review for that in a little bit. Well, I mean, I've got like 7 videos to do today, so we'll see. Actually, no, I got 7. I had 8, but I got to do the what if from yesterday, the who would win from yesterday, the who would win today, the Pokemon team, 1,000-Year Blood War Calamity, and I'm thinking I might start putting off the Death Battle reviews, and maybe just do that as an end of the year tier list instead. So actually, I only got maybe 5 more videos. There was again 2 who would wins, 1 what if, Pokemon, then okay, 5 more videos after this. That's not as bad. And I'm not doing a Death Battle prediction because I have already done the Death Battle prediction. But you know what? Look, I didn't expect this to be in the top. Look, if this thing had cracked the top 5, I would have been like, that's my boy. But the fact that it made any money at all, $3 million worth of people, including me and my girlfriend, went to go see the first 3 episodes last night. Well, throughout the weekend. Hey, look, that just makes me happy as a Bleach fan. It means that there's still life in us. There's still a lot of people wanting to see it. So yeah. And man, was that good. We'll talk more about that a little later today. What's not good is Master of the Universe also just, man, it hasn't even hit 110. Oh, man, you want to talk about, look, let me put it this way. As rough of a opening a Supergirl had, it is nowhere near the bomb that this is. Because, let's actually get the Rotten Tomatoes back up here real quick. Because Supergirl, again, holds like a 58% with a 77% from the audience. Not great, but could have been a lot worse. What did He-Man have again? If I remember correctly, He-Man, I think, was low 50s or 40s. Let's see here now. Okay, so weirdly enough, Masters of the Universe actually had a much better score than Supergirl. 68% and 86% from the audience. That's actually a very good point. What would I consider to be the better movie? Because I liked Masters of the Universe, problems aside. The problem is you don't have your equivalent of Skeletor in the movie, because Skeletor carries the fucking movie. You don't have your equivalent of Skeletor in Supergirl. You got Lobo, and Lobo's great when he's on screen, but you just don't have that equivalent. Plus, visually, this just looked better. Master of the Universe really just looked better visually. It's very murky, Supergirl a lot. It's like a lot of people said it's Guardians of the Galaxy meets Mad Max, and that's really not an accurate assessment. But it did open much higher than Masters of the Universe, and is made on significantly less than Masters of the Universe, which had, I think, like 186 if you average it out, something like that, for its budget. And about $100 million for marketing, roughly. Even if I lowered it to Supergirl's number, that's still way more than Supergirl's made on. And look, Supergirl just opened. Again, maybe International can come and maybe it can save its ass. But I'm not really going to hold out hope. But I guarantee you, it's going to make more than Masters of the Universe. That's not a high bar, mind you, but yeah. Otherwise, there's not much else left to talk about anyway. Double Horse Power 2 is still kind of around, which I'm actually surprised about. Yeah, there really just is. That's pretty much it for the box office. So while it is a disappointing week at the movies for Supergirl, it's still an overall good week for the movie theaters in general, because that's still, I mean, if I just add up the top 10 real quick, which are all in the million, let's see here, 108, 117, 125, 26, 134, 138, 41. It's about 145 at the box office. Almost, if we factor all the lower stuff, it made like 150 at the box office. That's a good weekend. So next week, or this coming week, we have Minions. And Minions opens actually a little early. It's opening technically on the 1st. So it would be Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. So I could go see it. No, I could do it Thursday. Yeah, I could do it Thursday. I'm not going to be able to see it. Well, actually, hold on. Why don't we just get my local Cinemark up here right now and check, shall we? Because if it's opening Wednesday, that means the previews are Tuesday, which means I could actually go see a pre-screening on Tuesday for matinee. Well, I don't know if it would be considered matinee, because Tuesday's my matinee day, or the matinee day, but, yeah, okay. Is there a... come on. Okay. Tuesday. Anything? Come on. No, it doesn't look like we are going to get that pre-screening, which frankly makes sense. So Thursday would be the day I'm checking out Minions and Monsters, which would be what? What would be the best show time? Anywhere between 12:15 and 2:15, and it's not going to be. It's an hour, literally an hour and a half. So yeah, yeah. Anyway, so I mean, look, as much as I want Toy Story to make $1 billion, I still think it has a good shot at it. Minions is a juggernaut of a franchise unto itself. So I'm going to say Minions is number 1 next week. New animated film on the block. Very colorful, popular with the kids. And I've actually heard a lot of good things about this particular one. So there's that. I still think Toy Story would be number 2. Supergirl probably is going to be number 3, though. I would say, based on its drop-offs, I'd probably go Obsession at number 4. Okay. I'll lean into Disclosure Day as my number 5, not Jackass. I think Jackass is probably going to take a decent drop beyond what Disclosure Day would drop off at. But maybe not. You know, I'm going to switch. I will say Jackass. That's my thoughts on the box office this week. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. What do you think the box office is going to look like? Do you think Toy Story will make it to $1 billion? Why do you think Supergirl didn't succeed? Do you think Obsession will crack 400? It's 30 million away. And yeah, that's really it. I've already asked the other questions. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Later.